Hey everyone, you're listening to episode 52 of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. Thanks so much for inviting us to your table. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. We're a group of diverse friends who offer our takes on the latest and greatest board games to hit our table. I'm your host today, Daniela the Goofy Noob, and I'm joined today by the Collector.
Hey, this is David.
The Intellectual Introvert.
Hi everyone, this is Chris.
And the Deluxeifier.
Hello, it's Pete.
Okay, in today's mini Meeple episode, we're doomed. The end of the world is coming, and we're scrambling to assert our dominance before the final catastrophe arrives in Doomlings. So let's come to grips with the apocalypse and get right to it.
Doomlings is a 2 to 6 player hand management set collection game where you attempt to assert your species' dominance before the inevitable end of the world. Doomlings takes place over 10 to 13 rounds. At the start of the game, an age pile is created consisting of 9 age cards, 3 catastrophe cards, 1 in each third of the deck, and the Birth of Life card, which always plays first. At the start of each round, the top card from the age pile is revealed. If that card is not a catastrophe card, the players each do what the age card says, then take their regular turn. On your turn, you will play 1 trait card from your hand onto the table in front of you. Some of these traits have effects which are enacted when the card is played, while others may provide game and scoring opportunities, and others still have no effect but give you points. Some trait cards represent dominant traits which cannot be swapped, stolen, discarded, returned, or removed for any reason, but you may only play 2 dominant traits during the game. After completing your turn, you refill your hand up to a number of cards equal to your gene pool, which starts at 5 but may increase or decrease during the game. If the card revealed from the age pile is a catastrophe card, no one takes a turn that round. Instead, the effects of the card are implemented, including an adjustment to everyone's gene pool and a catastrophic effect. If this is the 3rd catastrophe card, the World Ends effect is also enacted and the game ends. Players apply any World's End effects from their trait pile, then add up all of the points from cards in front of them. The player with the most points wins the game, but it doesn't matter because the world just ended. Doomlings was designed by Justice and Andrew Meyer and was first published in 2022 by Doomlings LLC.
Thanks, Chris. We should start by noting that we played a review copy of Doomlings, so thank you to Doomlings LLC for sending it to us. All right, guys, what is it about Doomlings that makes you want to dive right into the gene pool?
I mean, I'll just go ahead and say the one thing I really like about this game is I like the box. I mean, the artwork draws me into this game. You know, I'm not going to give my opinion away on what I think about this game yet, but, you know, when we first received the box, I like the colors on it. I like the little characters that were on it. And so, you know, and I do like small boxes. So I had high expectations for this game is what I'll say to start this off with. Anybody else?
I know. I think you're pretty spot on with the art. It is very interesting to look at. I think all the characters are pretty well thought out. Each one has its kind of own little, you know, sub little text to it as well. They all kind of make sense as you're looking at them. You know, there's like whales and different things that are all these little round balls and stuff, and they're pretty cute. And as well as the catastrophes that come and the World's End type of cards as well. And it's, yeah, very holographic and kind of fun.
Yeah, I think the art matches what this game is about. It's the end of the world, and things are going to be crazy. You're not going to have a whole lot of control, I think, over what's going on. If you figure out how to, let me know, because I often feel like things are out of control. And yeah, you feel like, okay, the world is ending. I'm just trying to do what I can to try to win here before everything just falls apart. And I think the art feeds into that as well.
Well, I think I like the game more than probably anybody else at the table here. I actually enjoyed the game. I thought it was fun. It's one of those games that's kind of lighthearted now. We play a lot of maybe more complicated and more in-depth, more challenging games. And this one is one that's just kind of fun. And I can see why it is very popular. You see it in a lot of big box stores. You see it at Targets and things like that. And I think for, the average guys playing, you have a beer at the table and you pull this out and the world's ending and you can just have a good fun time. Now there's some things I wish were a little bit different on it as far as a gaming goes, but we can get into that a little bit. But I actually had fun doing this. I think there's a lot of that take that in the games. Mm-hmm. If you have a group like I do at work, we love those take that games. And when you can screw somebody over or kill their guys and all that, they're all for that at work. This is one I'd like to take and have them play, and I'd like to get their opinions on it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think I don't like take that, right? And so I'm going to talk about that as a negative later. But I also know that when we were playing one of our games, you did something to me, and I'm like, okay, you're on my list now, Pete. Right?
Absolutely.
And I had the card. I knew what I was going to come at you with. And then David did something to me just where I was all right. You're safe now, Pete. David, you're on my list. And it was all in fun, right? I mean. And I think you're also spot on to where I think this game has that niche of people that I don't need to control everything. I don't need to have the full control. It's just I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to try to do what I can, and I'm okay if things fall apart. And if that's you, this game can be a blast.
Yeah, to me, I was talking to the guys before this, but this is a Glory to Rome for me. The way you guys like Glory to Rome, I actually like this one. If I'm going to have a game that I'm going to play and just kind of have fun and just kind of go with whatever comes out, and at the end of the game, who win, it doesn't matter who wins because the world ended. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. It's a fun, lighthearted game. I think it would be great with pretzels and beer and just having a good time around a table.
Yeah, if you're going to send us hate mail, just make sure you address it to Pete, so that I can just give it straight to him when it comes in our mailbox, since he's trying to compare this to Glory to Rome, which I don't even see that. So, he must have those goggles on for sure.
Completely different.
Goggles, yeah. I actually think I like Take That in some of the games. I actually wish this would go a little bit harder. I feel like when you do the Take That action, like you could steal something out of someone's hand and you're kind of like, oh, but I almost think it should be like, and maybe I didn't see some cards, but like, I don't know, destroy a whole card color that somebody has. Like if it's end of the world, it needs to be catastrophic.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty.
So it's got to be, because I feel like this game is brutal for every single thing that we're talking about. Like the game should be, everything is chaos. I'm dealing with chaos in the cards, and that's what you have to play to. It's a little bit of backwards thinking.
Maybe that's the next expansion, and maybe it's escalating to where if it's in a third age, then it's like this terrible effect or something like that. And the later you play this card, the more you hold on to it, the bigger of a take that it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, so what are some of the little nit things that maybe frustrate you about the game, or some of the things that might have worked themselves out? I know for one thing for me was some of the wording on the cards, right? Like this is a very interactive game that you're playing. I think you can play up to how many people in this game? 6 people. If you are set up at a table, I don't know if the cards need to be turned another way. Maybe they need to be set a different way so people can actually read them. Because part of the game is taking other people's cards. There were a couple different things in there where I needed to see if somebody had the same type of card, right? And you can't really read that or look at that when the wording is so small. Or, hey, play any card that somebody has out. Well, I don't even know what they kind of just did because I'm looking at my next move. So that was one of the things that kind of frustrated me a little bit.
Yeah, and I know I was stacking them a certain way, and then you're like, but I can't see that part of the card. So I stacked them a different, like, well, now I can't see that, but so I just started throwing them down on the table in whichever way you could see them.
The downside that I have this game is the end game scoring, and the cards themselves don't score a lot of points. I think some of the highest cards had 4, maybe a 5 on it. So you're playing the 3 rounds, and at the end of the game, you might have maybe 10 cards out on the table, maybe less. It really depends on how fast that comes out. But triggering the end game and actually scoring the end game, I think I know personally I had some confusion on it because it's like, okay, well, do we have to get rid of cards first before we score because of the way the world ends? And it's just not very fluent. And to your point, there's a lot of wordings on the cards. What happens when I play it versus if I take it from somebody, I don't get to play it. And I think over time, if you play the game a number of times, you get a hold of that. But those are kind of my comments on that.
Yeah, a key piece that you said there is it's not real clear. You said something like, to me, the rules are confusing, period. Many times and the rule book's not great, we'd go and try to find where that rule is. And if we do find it, we still don't understand what it is. Way too many times, we just had to decide for ourselves, this is how we're going to interpret it. We're going to go with it. Because the rule book wasn't easy to interpret. But I go back to what we were talking about earlier. Maybe that's the kind of game it is. Just go with it. You can't control anything anyway. Go with it. That's how we're going to play it this time. And then again, let the world end.
All right. I think the other item that irked me a little bit were the options within each color theme were a little bit too vast. I know there was a couple times in like the green category, I was waiting for somebody to play like Swarm and I wanted to build off of other people's cards. And I don't think with 4 or 5 players that we were playing with, I feel I should have seen those cards more that work together more often than we saw with 5
Especially
players.
on the high player count, right? When a lot of cards are being played. Nobody ever
Yeah.
got to take advantage of Swarm.
Exactly.
And I think Dave got to take care of Fifth Meeple of kidneys once, where it's as many kidneys as you play. But yeah, I think if you're going to try to do those, you're relying on luck that's actually going to pan out.
Yeah, I really wanted to make those cards work with other players because I was holding on to some of them. I might have discarded them a little bit differently, I think, if I knew that the cards weren't going to show up. And so I just think maybe like a little bit of less options across the board with some of those ones that are supposed to work together in those certain color themes.
So for me, I agree with you, Daniela, in that respect as well. I play a lot of games, and I think this game is just really long for what it actually should be. And I actually think the complexity for what is supposed to be this easy game that you could just teach to beginners is something that, in my personal opinion, doesn't mesh well. I feel like it's really confusing on some of the cards, even coming from somebody who plays a lot of games. And I actually wouldn't want to necessarily introduce this to somebody that's trying to find, this is a modern board game kind of thing, because I think it gives the wrong taste of what could be a really good game. And I hate to say that, but at the same time, I just feel like there's a lot that's missing in this game. For example, I know we talked about dominant trait cards. It's really, I played like 2 games where I never even saw a dominant trait card just get dealt to me or drew one. And so my thing is, I think there needs to be some sort of draft in the beginning where it's like, take 2 cards, pass to your left, or take a card or whatever to try to mix things up. Maybe you could get some synergy with some combos.
You're looking for control, David. The world's ending, man.
I know. There's no control. And, and just the way the ages end, just with a lot of things that just, to me, don't make it a very fun experience. I get why some people at this table might have fun, but for me, this was just, and I'll talk about it in my rating, but from somebody who teaches a lot of games to people, this is not one, unfortunately, that I would want to teach to somebody else.
Yeah, we had to reference the rule book, I think, way too many times, and for the entirety of the game, especially with the World's End and the different eras that were coming out. It was a lot of referencing, I think, for what the game's supposed to be. David, why don't you hit us with the Collector's Corner real quick on this one?
Yeah, so right now you can go find Doomlings. It's at actually a lot of places. It's really mainstream, but if you're going on Amazon, it's $24.99 for the set that we were given by the publisher. Used, you can find it online somewhere around $10. And on their own website, so if you go to doomlings.com, you could actually buy it on their website for $20. This is one time where I would always infer that, if you want to support something like this and you really think it's going to hit your game group, I would go just buy directly from the publishers on this one. Make sure they get the most money that they can from it. And I think you get a pretty good price on it too if you want to buy it new.
All right. Well, before the world ends, let's each give our final ratings on Doomlings. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being a Fifth Meeple recommendation to buy and 1 being a recommendation to burn, where does Doomlings sit for you? And I'm going to start with Chris.
Yeah, there's a certain type of game that I like, a certain type of game that I don't. This has a lot of the things, quite honestly, that I don't. At the same time, the times that we played it, I had fun, but it was always hindered by the fact that while I was having fun, and then it was like, okay, now we got to check the rule book, and now we got to do this. Not my kind of game. I can see where people would like this game. And quite honestly, I even said, hey, we should play this again before we talk about it. Let's do it again. And I'm having some fun when it's playing. It's not my kind of game. I'm not going to ask to play it. I can see 100% where people would like this one. It's not for me. If you align with me, it's a 2. I like a lot of control, and I don't have it in this game. And again, I think that's what that game is about. It's just not for me.
David, how about you?
Yeah, this is just challenging for me. There's a lot that I wanted to like. There's a lot that when we got the box, I really did like the artwork. I like the small package. It's something that I'm always looking for new games to teach people, easier games that, you can play in about 15 to 25 minutes, something like that. And that's just not what this game is. I feel like it's something where if you came to Target and you're looking at the shelf and you're like, oh, that might be fun with my family, I just feel like it's going to leave a bad taste in most people's mouths on like what modern board gaming is, just because of how confusing it is. It almost feels like it's not fully developed and it's not as concise as it needs to be in order to, I feel like, further kind of like, just board gaming in general. I feel like it should just be way more concise on, how things play out. And I feel like it's so ambiguous and so vague that you're just, collectively saying, well, let's just play it this way. And I just don't like when games do that. I like that there's a concise rule set, and I don't feel it in this game. So for that reason, I'm actually going to give this a 1. I hate to say it, but that's where I'm at with this. Daniela.
Okay, so I want to be very grateful and I want to be gracious to the publishers who sent us this game. We are always just, grateful for that opportunity that people would reach out to us and send us a copy of their game. So thank you to them. I am kind of a little bit sitting in the same boat as David. Do I think I would burn this? I would say no. But I think I'm not going to add this to my gaming collection, which is small to begin with. Games got to be pretty good for me to buy. I'm buying more books than anything. For me, I felt, unfortunately, like the game got less and less fun as I played. Like I was kind of just waiting for the end and I was not interested. I lost interest very early on, and it did not come back for me for the times that we played. So I too am going to be sitting at a 2 on this game. Pete, what do you have?
I am taking this game home with me because I actually really enjoyed it. I think with the right, you have to hand it to me right here.
Yes, you are.
David is not getting this. Publisher, thank you. Peter Medved now owns this copy. But no, I think with the right group of people playing the game, people who like to take that on it, there are some shortcomings with how the cards, pan out and trying to read those rules. But I think this is another one where I think over time you would get it. To me, this is kind of like in the vein of games like I wrote down here, like Exploding Kittens or Unstable Unicorns, Munchkin. I think you have to have that kind of group to play with. And I think it's very group dependent where, when we're talking about games mainstream, I kind of agree. I don't know that I would just, buy this for your kids and have them play it. I think it's specific for a particular group of people. And I think if you like that kind of game, I think this is one that you're going to have fun with. And I know I did. So my vote is actually going to be a 4 on this one. I said, seriously, I'm taking this home with me. I'm going to play it at work, and I think people at work will have a good time. And I'm actually going to report back in a couple weeks, and we'll give an update on that because I think I do want to get some other people's takes on it too, not only ours, because we do have different opinions on it. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going to give it a 4.
You go find those people that agree with you.
I will.
All right. Well,
from what you've described for how your games go at work, I would predict it. The folks at work are going to like that game.
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of this mini episode of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on Doomlings. And if you'd like to get in touch, just email us at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media. Of course, if you like the show, we'd love it if you take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Tell your friends and help us expand our audience. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, remember, if things seem bad, it's not the end of the world. Probably. Goodbye, everyone.
Adios, amigos.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks again to Doomlings. It's www.doomlings.com if you want to check out their website. If this is the third catastrophe card, the world ends. No, the world ends effect is if this...